Hey, this is Alex with the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. Make sure you follow us on Spotify so you can listen to every new podcast we publish. Also, follow us on Twitter at Unbiased Blazers. In there's a link in our bio for our Discord so you can join and give us your takes or questions, whatever it is you want us to talk about on the podcast. Now, let's get to the show. Rip City, baby.
When I play up game and then talk, I'm trying, Jennifer.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 7 of Unbiased Trailblazers. This is our very first episode from the technically off-season for us, even though the playoffs are still going. It's still the second round. I think it's 2 games in for both series, so we're still a little early in the playoffs, but it's off-season for us, unfortunately. And we're just going to kind of talk about a couple things that have happened since the playoffs have ended for us, and we'll just jump right into it right away. Obviously, the biggest topic for us is Terry Stotts is no longer the coach. I think that was a good decision for everybody, honestly. Let's go ahead and start off with Mike. How do you feel Terry Stotts being gone? What's your thoughts on that?
Finally, that's my thought. It was a long wait, but yeah, finally, O'Shea got his head on the game, and finally fired him. That man had always, when he was on the Blazers, he always had a top 10 player in the NBA, and he somehow finished with a 36% winning record in the playoffs. It's a huge underperformance. It's 9 years of underperforming, so I'm glad it finally came to an end when Lillard's prime is coming to an end. I'm glad Stotts came to an end too, so he can get something fresh in his career.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Fawad. How do you feel about Terry Stotts being gone?
I think every single person will agree that it was time for him to go, but I'm going to play a little bit of a devil's advocate, and I'm going to say that while our playoff record wasn't great and we did underperform some years, I think some years we actually did overperform, and he was at least an average coach overall. I think his offense was really good, and his player development was really good too. We turned so many second rounders into rotation players. We would get people who wouldn't get minutes on other teams, and we get some productivity out of them. So I think some Blazers fans are overhating him a little bit. I think overall he was fine, but it was obviously time to move on. And honestly, I thought this playoff performance, it was probably not one of his worst ones, because most of the adjustments that we wanted to see, like Canner's minutes being reduced, Ronnie Hollis Jefferson getting more minutes, and a couple other things. He did a lot of the things, but overall, it was his time to go. We need someone new, someone who can actually coach defense, and someone who can hopefully take us to that next level.
I totally agree. And I think a lot of true Blazer fans and people that truly do understand basketball know Terry Stotts wasn't a bad coach. He was actually a pretty good coach for us, honestly. And I'm looking up some stats on him right now. 8 out of the 9 years that he was our coach, we made the playoffs. So, I mean, you can't ask for much better than that. And like you said, you did mention that the playoff record wasn't as good. We were 22-39. But, I mean, he's getting us in that position to make a run. Unfortunately, we just never could. I think. Go ahead.
And a lot of those losses were to the Warriors. How many
Oh,
times did
yeah.
we lose to them?
Yeah.
The whole league was losing to
Yeah.
them. And
I
then
mean,
we were the 8th seed last year because of injuries, so we lost to the Lakers. A lot of those losses were understandable.
I mean, a lot of our playoff series losses were to the eventual champion. So,
Yeah,
I mean, the only bad loss was the Pelicans, which was embarrassing.
I still get I don't know, hurt talking about that.
So we moved on from Stotts. I think it's obviously it's in the past now. There's nothing we can do about it. I think it was a good run for him. I think he was a good coach. I just think it was time to change, make some defensive schemes change, some offensive scheme changes, and hopefully we'll talk about it in a second here. Hopefully whoever we end up signing will be a better choice, a better upgrade for us. So let's jump into that. Right off the bat, Lillard sent out a tweet, I think, or it might have been an Instagram post saying he wanted Jason Kidd to be the coach. And I know a lot of Blazer fans that I saw were not a fan of that. And honestly, I'm not a fan of that. I don't think Kidd's the answer at coach. How did you feel, Fawad?
I was super against it when I saw that. Not only like was his name rumored, but Dame specifically wanted him. I was so like upset. I was disappointed. I was like, we're gonna be stuck in mediocrity for God knows how long. And then I was just like, this is absolutely not the pick that we should make.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know how, out of all the other coaches that are in the NBA, why he would jump to the front for Lillard. I feel like there should be other players or other coaches that he would want over Kidd, but who
I
knows?
think it was the Oakland connection.
It very well could have been, and I wouldn't be surprised by that. Mike, how do you feel about Dame wanting Jason Kidd?
Um, I understand why. Dame grew up in the era where Jason Kidd was the most fun point guard to watch, and Dame probably modeled a lot of his game on him. And being coached by him would be a great honor for him. And looking at his record, he's a positive coach, but I think we need more than just a positive coach. Otherwise, we just keep stats. Because stats is positive too. But yeah, Jason Kidd, he's got 5 seasons as a main coach. He wasn't bad. He wasn't good. I don't think this is the way to go.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I think the Oakland thing is a big reason why. Uh, so let's go ahead and let's just do who Fawad. Who do you feel either who would you like to see as a coach, or who do you think they're gonna end up deciding with?
I honestly don't know who I want. There's like so many options, and like just as a fan, we can't really know exactly how well a coach is, especially if they're like a current assistant. We don't know how well they would do. So I don't really know exactly who I would want. I know some people that I wouldn't want, but I'm hearing that we're really interested in Chauncey Billups. And at first, I wouldn't really like that, but like at the time, the alternative was Kid. So I kind of convinced myself in my head that Billups wouldn't be a bad option. So I am fine with him if that happens. But um, Mike D'Antoni's another one that he's been rumored to like be interested in the job, or maybe we're interested in him. So I wouldn't be opposed to that either.
So before we move to Mike, let me give you a coach that was rumored to come to Portland, and you tell, or be a candidate for Portland, and you tell me how you feel about that. Let's start off with probably the one that a lot of people know of and hear from, Dame and CJ, with David Vanderpool. How do you feel if he was to be the coach?
I have a lot of thoughts on this, but to sum it up, I don't think he's the option because I think he would be too similar to Stotts. But I do think that our defense was at least like average most of the or like around 15 most of the years that he was with us. So I think like he could have I guess he has potential, but I wouldn't want to risk that the rest of Dame's prime on like a first time rookie coach who's not even that proven as an assistant.
And I totally agree. I think if we were to end up picking him, he's going to have a lot of the philosophies that Stotts had. That's who he was,
Hmm.
an assistant coach for. So I totally agree with you there. Okay, Mike, go ahead. Why don't you, if you have anybody you'd like to see as coach, or who you think Portland, and who you think Portland's going to pick?
Um, all the guys I have lined up, you already mentioned. Chelsea would be a very risky pick to go now. I like Chauncey. In my opinion, as a Melo fan, he was the best player that he played in his prime. He's a guy that can win games. He can motivate the roster, and I like that. But I'd prefer him as an assistant. Um, because I want Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni is a guy that has been multiple years in the NBA. Got a bunch of plus 60 wins seasons. Is a 50% winner in the playoffs. He's proven a lot, and all of these records are squandered by a bunch of tanking seasons. He was forced to do. He's a very underrated coach. I think he could really give our offense a kick and bump us. We were already like a great offense, but turn us into an unstoppable force.
Yeah, it's a obviously everyone knows that he's such a great offensive coach, and I honestly think he probably is a little bit better of a defensive coach, it seems, than Stotts was. So I do think that would be a better choice than having Stotts. Let me give you a coach that I've heard about. What do you think about Mike Brown being the coach?
Um, I don't know. I don't really know. We know he can coach. He didn't have a lot of very successful seasons. He won Coach of the Year once in 2009. Uh, but yeah, I think we should go for someone more experienced by this time. Uh, I'm okay with taking a gamble, but not where Dame's career is at. I need like a sure thing, and
Sure.
Mike D'Antoni of the rumored coaches is the most sure we can get to. Of course, if we were going on a rebuild now, I'd 100% probably take Mike Brown. He's younger, he's proven a lot, and hasn't been given a chance in a while. So I would go for him on a rebuild, but I'm not sure for now. I would stick to Mike D'Antoni.
And let me ask you both one more because this is a hot topic in the NBA. Obviously, Becky Hammond. Is that something that you would even want to see?
I was just about to bring her up myself. I know I said like literally like 2 minutes ago that I wouldn't want to risk the rest of Dame's prime on someone who hasn't who's a little bit unproven. But I think she has such a long history under Pop that I would
Hmm.
definitely give her a chance, and I think she would be a good coach for us.
What about you, Mike?
Yeah, what I said about Vanderpool and Mike Brown is the same. I really don't think an unexperienced coach is the way to go now. A lot of times it goes wrong. More times it goes wrong than bad, and it's not time to take those chances right now.
Which is a fair assumption. I mean I totally see that, but I kind of agree with Fawad. The time that she's spent under Popovich, I think she could be a great coach for any team that's willing to buy into her system. And it's a possibility. I haven't heard very many rumors of us looking at her, but I mean, you never know. It could happen. So
I'm wondering if she's just waiting for Pop to retire in like a year or two and just take the Spurs job because
you
she
you
does have
know
a
that
history
makes
there.
total sense. I mean, it really does, and I could see that happening too. So,
Yeah.
so we're gonna move on to our next topic, which is uh something that a lot of Blazer fans have an issue with, and that's with our GM Neil Olshey and the decisions he makes in the offseason. He put out a quote saying he was dissatisfied with losing to a team missing an all-star in the playoffs, obviously us losing to Denver, and he wants defensive improvement without making roster changes. Do you guys think the team as a whole right now, if a change of coach that was more defensive oriented would make a difference?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead, Fuad.
All right. So I'm probably gonna say a lot of things that are gonna be unpopular opinions, but I kind of do agree with Neil O'Shea. I think the roster doesn't need it doesn't need a significant overhaul, but I wouldn't be, like I do think that should be explored as well. But I think if there is a coach out there that can turn us into even like a top like 12 to 15 defense, I think that might be enough for us to make a deep run. And I understand if we don't make huge roster changes, but obviously we do need like either to make our bench better or we need something extra. And in general, I am a fan of Neil O'Shea. Obviously, his free agency has been extremely lackluster, but I think he's made a lot of really good trades, like the Nurk trade. Norman Powell is kind of 50-50. The Rodney Hood trade was like amazing. We gave up like 2 second rounders and non-rotation players. There's so many other ones that's all I remember off the top of my head. But I think for the most part, he's done at least a decent job, if not a like outright good job. But this summer, I think that it is possible for our defense to be at least in the top half without roster changes. But like I said, do think that we should try to get more defenders if possible to maybe like secure that top 10 type of team, top 10 defensive type of team.
Yeah, and I'm gonna jump in real quick. I actually agree with you. I think our roster as a whole, as of right now, if we put more emphasis on defense, I think we could make a run. I'm not guaranteeing that we could, make it to the finals or anything, but I think that gives us we have a good roster on paper. We just have to put it all together. And in my opinion, the only thing I would be looking to do is try to bring in a superstar. So if that means trading CJ, the rumors, of Paul George, if that means trying to get Paul George here, I think that's an instant upgrade, obviously, and that's what I would be looking for. I wouldn't be looking for trading pieces away and trying to bring in other pieces and hoping that piece works. So, Mike, how do you feel with what Neil O'Shea said?
Um, I'm kind of 90% agree with Oshi right there. I agree that we have a roster to definitely get a top 10 defense. I don't think we can do it without any moves. We don't need a big move, but if you think about it, like we got Robert Covington, a guy who can be All NBA defensive first team. We got Derrick Jones, we got Nas Little, we got Harry Giles, we got Nurkic, we got Norman Powell, we got Rondae Hollis Jefferson, we got Zach Collins even. All these guys can be big positive defenders, and even below that tier, that kind of shaky zone, like Dame, CJ, and Melo, I still counting on those three still be here. That's like those are our scorers, and they've been like positive defenders before. So I think with the right coach, this roster definitely can can be a way better defense than well, it's not hard to be better than last year, but we can be way better than people expect us to be. But I think we can do it without any moves. We need some fresh air, and I think we need. I think I still think we need a backup center. I don't think Giles is ready for the role, and Cantor damages too much our bench mob defensively. So yeah, that's the only move I'd do. Of course, CJ McCollum is a rocket topic, but we'll get to that eventually during the off season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And a name you mentioned was that we never had all year, and as a super help to our defense is Zach Collins. So I believe he's a restricted free agent this year. So if we can get him back on a very cheap contract because of his injury history, I think that helps us right off the bat right there. So,
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm a huge Zach Collins fan. I think he can improve our defense a lot. And the other name that you mentioned that I noticed, Nasir Little, I think he'll improve even more this summer on both
yes,
ends. And I think him getting more minutes is going to be good for our defense as well and
yes.
our team as a whole.
Yep, I totally agree. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to throw it to Fawad. He kind of listened in on Olshay's press conference he gave, and he had a couple points he wanted to talk about. So go ahead, Fawad, take it away.
First, really quickly, I'm gonna go back to the coaching. We don't really need to discuss it too much. Just one quick note that he made. So basically, he really emphasized that the coaching search it hasn't even really begun. They're just collecting 20 to 25 coaches, like just names and profiles and their history, etc. And they haven't talked to a single coach yet. Like they haven't had a single interview. They haven't asked teams for permission to interview. They right now they're just collecting 20 to 25, and then they're gonna start setting up the first round of interviews over the next 2 weeks. So, and that's just the first round. So I don't think we'll expect a decision. We should expect a decision for, I don't know, at least a month, I'd say. Um, and then let's move on to the roster part of the press conference. Earlier you mentioned Paul George, which is someone who I've been keeping an eye on as well. I wish Dallas won that series so that there would be a little bit more incentive for the Clippers to shake it up. But Olshey did talk about getting a second superstar, and it's not really encouraging, but it was an honest take, and it makes a lot of sense. Basically, what he said was, we can't really just wait around and like either look for a superstar or like make an offer. The When a superstar asks out, first of all, those opportunities are very rare. They don't happen all the time. But when they do, that player almost always has a destination in mind. And it almost never is Portland. And even if it is, it's not really in our hands. So if a situation does pop up where a superstar asks out this summer, then they'll definitely look into it. But otherwise, they're gonna operate as if like there's no superstar that's ready for us to grab. So what do you guys think about that? Like, do you think there is someone that could pop up, or we should just focus on other avenues of improvement?
I'll go first, Mike. Like you said, it's Portland's not a destination a lot of people want to come to, and the crazy thing is when players do end up coming here, they love it here, and then you hear it all the time. Oh, I love Portland. This is a good place to be. So I would love for us to get another superstar. The problem is CJ's contract is so inflated. I think next year is 30 million. That's hard to trade away without giving away a lot more. So I get what he's saying and it makes sense. And I think a lot of people just think it's so easy just to go out and, oh, let's get a free agent that's a superstar. Let's just trade for this guy. Let's give him, a second round pick in Simons for a superstar. And that's not how it works. So it's not 2K. We can't just manually force a trade and just be happy. It sucks, that we're a small market. We just have to hope that we can either build a winner or somebody wants to buy into what Lillard's been saying for the past, 9 years and get lucky enough to get someone to come here.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. Like, oh, she doesn't have a NBA trade finder. He can't go on NBA trade machine and come up with the next big deal in the NBA. It's way bigger than what goes through him. Yeah, there's a lot of factors, and I've been kind of on the same boat as him, and I've been more on the lookout for not role players, but uh, guys that can start and really help Dame achieve bigger stuff. One guy that I know that is tradable right now, and I think would really help us is Marcus Smart. He's very good. He can run the point. He's a streaky shooter, but when he gets hot, he gets hot, and he's one of the best defenders you can get in the league. So yeah, I think we should be more aiming towards that tier of the players that they can help too. With a superstar is obviously very good, but a guy like Smart can help us in a very good way. Yeah, I'm more on the lookout for those type of players, and Smart was the first one that popped up, and he's one of my favorite players. Not gonna lie. Uh, but yeah, I think Oshi's right. Getting a superstar here is going to be way tougher than to just give 5 firsts and CJ.
And then he also said two other things that are kind of related that I found interesting, and I think everyone was looking for that as well. And they're actually kind of contradictory. So first, what he said was that 4 of our 5 starters are under contract for at least next season, and most of them are like beyond. Obviously, Norm Powell is the one that's not, and he did mention that he wants Norm to be a long-term part of our future. So what he said, these 4 starters are under contract, and I quote, he said they're returning absolutely. So that makes it sound that makes it sound like CJ is not being traded and that's like off the table. So at first I was a little bit discouraged by that, but then later he said something that kind of, it didn't really backtrack, but it suggested something else. So he was asked if he'll consider um, he was asked about whether he'll consider breaking up Dame and CJ. And in the past, he's always been like, no, why would I do that? They're like one of the best backcourts in the league. But then this time around, he gave a very vague answer. He didn't really say anything. He said, uh, he just kind of dodged the question and said that like we don't know what will happen like until it happens, I guess. And then he also said, "quote Nothing is ever off the table." So I think they do plan on, or at least they're open to trading CJ. They just don't want to say anything yet because obviously a lot of reasons. They don't want to cause issues in the locker room. They don't want to look bad to like the media, just a bunch of things. But I do think that they are open to it, and hopefully they actually go out and seek trades that would help improve us.
Yeah, and like I said on the last part of it, the biggest thing is, a lot of people want change and they want CJ to be traded, but we can't make a trade just to make a trade and not get the value in return. CJ is a good player, and there's not very many choices out there that we can make a trade where we're getting a decent enough value. Right now, we're not looking for picks in the draft. We're not in that stage. We're in the win now mode. We want Lillard to win now. So trading CJ, for some picks and a player isn't what we need. So unless they're planning on flipping those picks for somebody else. I mean, there's lots of little, we'll make this trade to make this trade to get this player to get this player. You just want to make sure you get the value if you're going to trade a guy like CJ away, and that's the toughest part.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything else?
There's
Go ahead.
one really quick last thing. It's not even worth talking about in my opinion, but I know a lot of people, especially non-Blazers fans, are talking about it. So someone asked something along the lines of if he thinks that Dame is gonna have a conversation about either being traded somewhere else or if they want to start rebuilding or something. And he like instantly shook his head and he just didn't even respond to that. He went to the next question. So I don't think that's anything we have to worry about. I doubt any Blazers fans were worried about that, but I know a lot of people on the outside have been talking about, oh, Dame's definitely going to ask out this summer. He's going to force a trade, blah, blah, blah. That's not happening.
Yeah, and I mean, we hear it every year that we make it out of the playoffs that Dame's going to request a trade and want to go somewhere else, and all these teams are trying to get him. Of course, every team's trying to get him. Who wouldn't want to have him? I mean, that's just crazy. And you get Stephen A. Smith, who throws out the Knicks on every single thing. LeBron's going to the Knicks. Dame's going to the Knicks. Like, you just kind of have to put it out. We've heard Lillard say over and over and over that he doesn't want to leave. He's not trying to ring chase. He wants to win here. And I truly believe it. I mean, he said he's perfectly fine with never winning, as long as he stays true to what he thinks is right. And maybe what he thinks is right changes, but there's nothing that's ever made us think he's gonna leave, other than other analysts saying he's gonna leave. So until I hear from him, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, there's no reason to worry at all.
Mike, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'm good. You guys talked really good.
Okay.
I have nothing to add.
Okay, well, with that being said, we're going to just end this podcast here. It was a nice little, 30-minute podcast. I enjoyed that one. If you guys are following us on Twitter or on Discord, please just, talk in there. Give us something to talk about. Give us some takes. Give us some questions, crazy scenarios, whatever it is, we're good to talk about it. Our next couple episodes are probably going to just be about the offseason and free agency, and, we might get a little wild with some of the ideas or questions. And then we'll also probably reminisce on past seasons. But, just stay in touch, stay in tune. We're going to, keep bringing these out. It might not be as frequent as normal, but we got it. We got you guys. And then we're going to move on to the song tonight. It's My Life Pursuing. You can check them out on all the major streaming platforms. I know we're kind of switching back and forth on songs. We just kind of want to get a little variety in there. So you can check them out, all those major streaming services. I hope you guys have a good night, and as always, Rip City, baby.
I'm trying, Jennifer.